Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What is going on, people? What's happening? Welcome back to Big B Daily Show. We are again live on TikTok. What's going on, TikTok? And we are live on YouTube. What is happening, YouTube? Thank you guys for coming back to the show. Again, Big B Daily is live. We live stream every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time, man. I appreciate all of you guys being in here. So, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? So, I appreciate it. So, what's going on, people? What is going on? Some sports tonight. We're going to get into some stuff. We'll figure out what kind of game that it's going to be. Man, it's going to be brutal. Patriots, Steelers. We'll go through that. But let's take care of some business first. As always, on TikTok, please keep tapping that screen. 1,500 likes, or I'm sorry, 3,500 likes and at least 30 new follows. So if you are in here and you're not following, please give us a follow, man. We appreciate it. Let's get on with the show. So I already see we're talking Thursday night football. A lot of you already saying the final score is 2-0, 3-2. It's brutal right now. It's brutal. If you're a Steelers fan, it sucks right this very second. Especially after last week. It is brutal. Brutal. And then the Patriots are just a bad football team. The Patriots are a bad football team. So here we are again with the Thursday night game. Ugh. And like I said, I love the Steelers. The Steelers are my squad, but we'll see. We'll see. The over-under. Did y'all see what the over-under was? I mean, has anybody checked it out? It's like one of the lowest in the history of football, of NFL football. Oh, my God. And a lot of people are taking the under. And I don't blame you. A lot of people are taking the under. I'm like, man, 30 points? But, I mean, if you look at a Steelers game and a Patriots game, under 30 sounds about right. It sounds about right. So, we'll find out exactly what's going on. We'll find out. What up, Cam? What's up, man? Love the support you got for me in here. I love it. Thanks, brother. But, man, the Steelers, Patriots, we're going to live stream it like we do on Thursdays. We'll be live streaming it. So, I appreciate you all coming back tonight for the game. We'll have some fun. Do a little trivia in there as well, like we always do. But, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Speaking of tough, and we're moving on here. Is it tough? Is it time for Belichek and Mike Tomlin to move on? Is it time for Belichek and Mike Tomlin to move on? Look, they're not in the same class, so I don't want to try to act like they're in the same class. Belichek is arguably the greatest coach of all time. Mike Tomlin is not in that class. Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but he is not in that class. Not even close. So here's my question. Is it time for both of them to move on? Belichek, for reasons, his system and what he thinks should be the system isn't working. It's being proven by the game that Tom Brady was more of the cause of why they were winning than what Bill Belichick is. Because his system was, okay, if we have a great quarterback, then we can fill in the other pieces. We can have a great defense. If this quarterback buys into, hey, you don't have to take top dollar every year. You know, you can still make good money, but you don't have to have top dollar. If we can get him to buy into that, we can fill in pieces and we can win. Well, now you don't have the quarterback, not to mention they keep missing on all these players. They can't draft a wide receiver to save their life. all the things that Belichick hit on early in his career in New England. So, and Belichick didn't win anything. He didn't win a Super Bowl without Brady. What are you talking about? He was a defensive coordinator. He never won a Super Bowl without Brady. Please stop talking, Trent Thompson. Or at least come in here and understand what you're talking about. Belichick was never the head coach of a team that won a Super Bowl. Never, ever, 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 ever. He was a defensive coordinator who happened to have Lawrence Taylor on his team. So, but he wasn't in charge, so that doesn't count. Is that what we're doing? We're counting when Super Bowls when you're an assistant coach? That means Charlie Weiss must be great. So that must mean Charlie Weiss must be the world's greatest coach. What has he got? 3 Super Bowl rings? Golly. Just shut it down, dude. Shut it down. Either way, that's the problem with Belichick. And I think at some point we got to move on. So at some point, I think you just got to say sorry. Sorry. It's over. And the way that his system isn't working anymore. So I think you got to move on from it. Mike Tomlin, same thing. I love Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin will have another head coaching job before he even walks out of the door in Pittsburgh. But you know what? Sometimes your message gets stale. Sometimes a change of scenery is just what it's called for. And in Mike Tomlin's case, the time is now. The time is now. We can talk about he doesn't have a quarterback anymore, and we can talk about this and that. Look, Mike Tomlin has always been lax in the locker room. It reared its head when he didn't have stronger personalities to control the locker room. And now it's doing the same thing. He didn't fire Matt Canada early enough. He should have never even had the position to start this season. First off, Matt Canada should have never had the job to begin with. That's number one. So I don't know. And not to mention Mike Tomlin's way of coaching is not, you can't win that way. You can't win Super Bowls or in the playoffs the way that Mike Tomlin wants to coach. You can't do that. You can't win when you want to play great defense, but number one, because the NFL doesn't allow you to play great defense anymore. So that's number one. But you can't win trying to play great defense, playing solid special teams, keeping games close, and then make a play at the end of the game to win. You can be 500. You can be 9-8, maybe 10-7, but you're not winning in the playoffs doing that. You have got to score points. You've got to be able to score points. Even if it's a low-scoring game, you've got to be able to score points in the National Football League to win. I mean, you've got to be able to do that. And the Steelers can't do that. That's not how they play. And sorry, the Steelers can make the Super Bowl this year. There's no chance that they are winning a game in the playoffs. Steelers, I take that back, not make the Super Bowl. They can make the playoffs this year. They have no chance to win a game in the playoffs. How they play is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. So it's very interesting. Like I said, I love Mike Tomlin, and I would take Mike Tomlin to continue to be the Steelers coach if he changed his philosophy. If he changed. So, but he's not going to. He's not going to. So, I just, it's nuts. It's nuts. Yeah, Tomlin is from Virginia. That's a good point. And Washington would be great if they hired him. Yeah. Washington, that would be a good look. That would be a good look. But I think it's just time. Sometimes it's just time for guys to move on. Hell, Andy Reid moved on from Philly. They let him go in Philly. It was just time. And he went to Kansas City and hasn't looked back. So, This is a great point, Austin. For folks that think it's crazy that both of these coaches would retire or be fired, Noel went 23 years, Cowher for 15. They're both right there in terms of coaching one team. Here's my thing. If the Steelers can get rid of Chuck Noll after what he did, they can get rid of anybody. I mean, if Chuck Noll can be fired, and let's make no mistake, he was fired. If they can do that, they can let go of Mike Tomlin. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And again, I love Mike Tomlin. I think he's an outstanding football coach. I think his time in Pittsburgh is just over. There's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with that. And yes, the Steelers could hire another coach and they could be terrible. But that still wouldn't mean that it's the wrong move. That wouldn't mean that it's the wrong move. Because, I mean, the way the Steelers are now, they're never going to get better. You know, you talk about Belichek the same way. I mean, unless Belichick changes on how he does things, they're not getting better. I mean, he can't even decide on a quarterback. I mean, last year he had a defensive coordinator and a special teams guy as his offensive coordinator. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Terrible. But let's move along. You got to move along. Yes, Chuck, you got to change with the times. Even Mike Tomlin, who is not an old coach, you got to change with the times, and he's got to change. He's got to change. You just can't keep doing things the same way, man. You got to change. So, QB injuries. Let's move on. Seems to be a lot of quarterbacks getting hurt. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, people are blaming the turf, or they're blaming that people pass a lot. I'd like to think that part of it comes from horrendous, and I mean horrendous, offensive line play. That's what I think is the main issue on why quarterbacks are getting hurt, is that the offensive line play has been atrocious for the last 5 years. And this year, we're just seeing quarterbacks go down left and right. Left and right, quarterbacks are going down. You know, and it's a problem. It's a problem. I mean, quarterbacks have always gotten hurt, but you haven't seen this many. I think out of the 16 teams in the AFC, 9 of them are using backups. Now, that's insane. That's insane. So we're going to bring our man CJ in. He's our quarterback guru that comes in. Usually on Tuesday, he had some conflict of interest, so he's coming in on today with us. So we're going to bring him in and see and ask him some questions. And TikTok, keep engaged. Keep asking questions, man. He showed up over here on YouTube. CJ, what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right on this end, Big B. How are you doing?
I am doing good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So we were just talking quarterback injuries. And one of my things is I think a lot of the quarterback injuries come from horrendous offensive line play. As a guy that covers the league, covers quarterbacks, what are your thoughts on all of these quarterback injuries this season?
Sure. I'm going to start with a ridiculous premise. It's the Madden football rule. So
Okay.
anytime you get an update, people try to nerf certain things or try to take advantage of certain rules. So Madden tries to combat it. I think what's happened in the NFL is a couple of things. The NFL has instituted rules to try to make the offense score more points, which has made it harder on the defense. So what it's doing is making things easier on certain quarterbacks. Number 2, they've had safety protocol rules instituted, which has made it impossible for offensive linemen to actually get stuff in gear. And a lot of these guys are behind because in college, they're no longer actually playing in more pro-style handling.
No, they're not. That's right.
Offenses. So now you have these 2 things that are going along. So now that these defensive lines are getting better things, the offensive lines are getting worse, and these guys are running free, you have quarterbacks that are like, oh, I can do this or that, and they're in bad positions to take these hits. They're in bad positions to actually be ragdoll. They're in bad positions to suffer severe injuries. And it's all because
Yeah.
tried to make things so easy because we love scoring instead of just letting the game evolve in its own way.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Appreciate it, Andy. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the things is the offensive line play. It's not just the college level. It's bad from, I would say, Pop Warner on up, because they don't teach fundamentals anymore. Okay, you're big, you got decent feet, you're a bigger guy, we'll put you at tackle, we'll put you at guard, move around, blah, blah, blah. They don't teach protection. They don't teach drive blocking. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've even seen a team, and I watched several high schools and colleges practice, none of the offensive line hit the sled. Nobody hits a sled. It's there. It's available. They don't even look at that thing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I mean, there wasn't a day that went by when I was in junior college that we didn't hit that 7-man sled. That's all we did. And they don't do that stuff now. And I'm just trying to figure out what the meaning or the rationale behind that is. But I know what the result is. You're getting quarterbacks killed. You're getting quarterbacks hurt.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you're completely correct. I can't remember a time when I've been to a practice and seen that occurring. And it's really interesting. So there's a college team from your old conference, Iowa, that people make fun of that offense, right? They can't score. They can't do this or that. You know what team people always take offensive linemen from? Iowa, because they're still teaching that stuff. It's one of the few institutions that seems like they're actually still getting guys to engage and learn those fundamentals.
Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Yep.
They teach that stuff at those schools. And guess what? Those guys are always the ones that are getting drafted.
The ugly offenses.
That's right. That's right. Ugly but effective.
Yeah.
Ugly but effective. So, but let's switch gears here, man, and let's talk a little football. Look, I'm disappointed, CJ. I'm upset because my quarterback, Baby Hands Pickett, has already been surpassed by a backup quarterback in our own division, Jake Browning. Am I wrong to say that Jake Browning looks better than Baby Hands Pickett already?
I don't think you're wrong to say it, but I don't think that he necessarily looks better for the long haul. I mean, he played a really good game. In fact, he played a great game considering the circumstances, and they let him throw the ball. That's a one-game sample size. And Pickett, heck, if you use the preseason, Pickett looked like he was an all-pro player. So it's all dependent. If Jake Browning finishes the season out like this, okay. But Jake Browning and Kenny Pickett, from a talent standpoint and where they should have been drafted, for the most part, weren't too far apart. Kenny Pickett should have been an early day 3, late day 2 guy, and Jake Browning should have been a mid day 3 guy. So that's probably why they look very similar, or at least it looks like Browning's past Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, it's sad for me, for the simple reason that it's a small sample size, but Kenny Pickett's never had a game that good. Like, he's never had a game that good. Now, it helps when you have Jamar Chase, you have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd. It helps, but it's not like the Steelers just have chopped liver as weapons out there either. The Steelers got some weapons to be able to use, and I know part of it was Matt Canada, but Matt Canada was gone last week, and it looked like the same stuff, even though Baby Hands got hurt early, but it is what it is. We'll see.
So from a talent standpoint, they have a top 10 talent tight end in Freiermuth, who's now healthy. You have one of the 10 best route runners in the NFL in Deontay Johnson, who he's got to get some things straight because I think he's in his feelings, rightfully so, from that offense being so stagnant. You have a dude who makes amazing catches, and while he may not be a number 1, he's an effective number 2 in George Pickens, who, again, alleviates pressure. There's no excuse for Pickett to not be better based on the offensive talent that surrounds him.
Exactly. And for the game tonight, just quick point, I tell people, they were saying, well, Trubisky, I'm like, the talent between Trubisky and Pickett, there's not real difference in talent there. And I go, the one thing is Trubisky will throw the ball down the middle of the field and down the field. He will take those chances, which is something that Pickett just refuses to do. So I don't feel horrible that Trubisky's in the game. Now, he's going to throw some picks. That's what he does. But he's going to take some chances that the Steelers need to be able to win football games. So I don't feel bad about that tonight.
Yeah, Trubisky's issue was always that he couldn't roll left and throw the ball, but that's his biggest issue. He's more talented than Kenny Pickett. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yes.
Has been from day one. Again, his issue is he really refused to ever roll left and throw the ball.
It's almost like he didn't even look left to throw the football.
Almost at all. Exclusively right. So that offense will be fine from that standpoint. The problem is he's playing against a defense that, and I listened in earlier, Belichek's defenses are still always on top of it, even when they have a lack of talent. And that's the biggest issue. If he would have been the starter last week against the Cardinals, I think they would have had a better, more functional offense because Trubisky didn't take any chances before he got hurt.
Correct. Yeah. So it is what it is, man. I'm going to bring up this question here from my man Austin. The biggest point is QBs who take advantage of rules. They're running and throwing more in traffic than ever. Guys like Brady and Manning always gave themselves up. I think that is a great point. And the NFL has gone to more mobile quarterbacks. But here's the thing that I would say with that. The mobile quarterbacks aren't getting hurt while running. Other than Richardson in Indianapolis, they're getting hurt while they're in the pocket. I think it goes back, CJ, to more what you're saying. Guys just aren't used to being hit, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. I mean, for all the complaints people made about Lamar Jackson several years ago, Lamar Jackson got hurt in the pocket.
Yes.
Most of your injuries are going to happen in the pocket because you have a lack of awareness, especially if you're a younger player playing that position. So those hits are not going to be ones that you determine how you need to take. And again, 0.2 seconds is huge.
Yeah.
Huge difference in the NFL. That's why you're seeing more injuries. And then you have freak things like what happened to Joe Burrow.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's just, Joe Burrow's injury. I mean, Jiminy Christmas. I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to do? I think more of these running quarterbacks have to understand. And you're starting to see Lamar Jackson do it. Lamar Jackson never took a big hit, but he would get tackled. Lamar Jackson, for the most part, now he's not getting tackled. He's going down. He's not sliding per se, but he is going down. He's like, I got to be around. I got to be healthy. I got to stick around. I think it's smart. I think it's smart football. You might give up a yard or two, CJ, but dag nabbit, a yard or two isn't worth 4 games or out for the playoffs. If you can't come up with the down to get me an extra 2 yards, that's another issue in itself. But get down. Some of these guys got to learn to just get down and not take these hits. I think Anthony Richardson learned a valuable lesson and trying to run through people. And I'm like, I don't know why some of these guys don't look to Cam Newton, CJ. Just look at what happened to Cam Newton. Cam Newton was an MVP of this league. 2 years later, he couldn't throw the football because he was he won too many times. He ran through a linebacker and his shoulder was destroyed.
Yep.
So
against your Steelers, actually.
Yeah, it was. I remember it's TJ Watt. I saw the game. I'm like, oh man. And he was never the same.
Nope.
He was never the same. Didn't have the velocity. He was never accurate, super accurate, but he always had a cannon. He no longer had that cannon. He was not the same guy. I just think some of these injuries are starting to take their toll on quarterbacks around the league.
Yeah, and with Anthony Richardson, one of the biggest things that he has an issue with, and it's likely because he's been better than everyone at every stage until this one, he doesn't know how to take hits. It's not that he takes big hits. When he's getting injured, he'll take a hit. It's a bump, and he'll fall, and then his head hits the ground first instead of his body. He's got to learn how to actually take these hits, and I think he'll be fine. University of Florida fans used to complain, he doesn't take people on. Why on 1st and 10 do you want your quarterback to try to run over someone?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, man. Moving on, some of these quarterbacks, let's take a look at there was a crazy comment that came out this week from David Carr. Look, I understand the hot takes. I understand we want everybody to watch our show. I want people to watch mine. But for you to come out and to say that Marcus Mariota would be a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think could be one of the more blasphemous statements that I think I've heard. I mean, that's a fireable offense. Literally a fireable offense. Tell me what you think about somebody that says that. See, or you could have the same take, but personally, I don't know. But you just tell me what you think.
So that's the first time I'm hearing this, which is why that was my response.
You didn't hear it?
No, I didn't. That's why.
Yes.
Listen,
Let me break it down. I'm sorry for anybody who doesn't know. David Carr came out. He's on NFL Network. He comes out and says that because Jalen Hurts is beat up, because Jalen Hurts is hurt, he says that Philadelphia should sit him down, which, okay, that's understandable. But he didn't stop there. He then went on to say that Marcus Mariota is a better quarterback right now than Jalen Hurts because Jalen Hurts is injured. And I'm like, first of all, they lost one game. He was winning these other games. Marcus Mariota is never going to be a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts in the National Football League. But that's what it was. He literally came out and said that and said he's a better quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
So I will not try to defend him. I don't know him, and I don't know what he's thinking. What I'll say is this. If he's injured enough where he's a detriment to the team, which it does not look like, or if he's injured enough to where Mariota is an upgrade, which he's not, then you do that.
Correct.
But that's not the case. To be honest, it looks like this team is not the same. It doesn't mean they don't have similar personnel. They're not as physical, and also the way that they scheme stuff isn't the same anymore. Nope. I think Brian Johnson can eventually be a really good offensive coordinator. I think he's a brilliant guy. But the way that Steichen did things last year was different. They were more forceful. Things were schemed open a little more than this year. That being said, no. I watched that game last week. You know what really was affected? So they didn't score in the red zone early, but they moved the ball.
Right.
In the second quarter, they moved the ball. Even in the third quarter, they moved the ball. The problem was their linebacker level had no clue what was going on in that game.
None.
That was the biggest issue. But that offense, it looked okay. It just wasn't able to keep up with San Francisco because San Francisco circled that game on the calendar, meant it. They came with some black Air Force Ones on, and they were ready to go.
They were.
And Philly just wasn't, but they will be next time because they have a guy like Jalen Hurts. So that's just idiotic. I'm sorry. I'm not calling him an idiot, but the comment was idiotic.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. The thing that was weird about that football game, everybody was giving Brock Purdy all the praise. And I'm not taking anything away from Purdy in the game. And the 49ers were more physical than the Eagles. But if you looked at the football game, Deebo Samuels took a jailbreak screen 50-something yards to the house. Then he takes a 3-yard slant, like 60 yards to the house. Is that good quarterback play per se? Or is that, hey, I've got some athletes. Let's get the ball to this athlete in space with maybe a block or two in front of him and see what he can do?
So and I actually had to do this on Twitter or whatever it's called now, X. I'm going to give Brock Purdy more credit than I did in the past. He is not on the level that some people want to put him on, of the Mahomes or whatever, and any of that. We're not even going to go that far.
Right.
There were passes in that game where placement and timing were excellent. The out and up that McCaffrey had, the ball placement on that was excellent.
Yes.
The things that Brock Purdy's done, what he reminds me of, and I'm not saying he's this guy yet. I'm not saying he'll ever be this guy. It looked like what Burrow was doing at LSU early on in 2019, where it was figuring out, you don't have to go win games. Right. I got dogs on my team. And what I need to do is not lose games and get better at the things that I can do to help them out. So he's doing the job that he's being required to do. Will he be able to do that in the Super Bowl setting or something like that? Maybe not. But right now, he is balling. He's leading the league in both efficiency metrics. He's just not the best player on that team, and everyone knows it.
Correct. Which is still why to me, it's wild about these MVP talks with Purdy. I give Purdy all the credit in the world because he isn't losing football games per se when they have the opportunity. It's not his fault that his team is getting big leads. It's not his fault that he's not having to play from behind. I keep saying, and I'll continue to say it, He's not good with game pressure, but it's not his fault that he doesn't have any.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can't blame the guy because his team allows him to play with a lead. That's literally not his fault. So he's doing a great job. Let me ask you another question here, CJ. It came up on TikTok. I don't think that calling people a game manager is a bad word. That comes up and gets thrown around a lot in NFL terms as talking about quarterbacks. Me personally, I don't think that saying somebody is a quarterback or is a game manager, I don't think that's a bad thing. What are your thoughts on that?
So game manager has been used as a derogatory term by people who want to take a person down a peg.
Yes.
If you're actually understanding what it means, every quarterback manages the game. There's just a handful who can go above and beyond. Again,
Yes.
you can name them on one hand, you might get another hand. You can Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. That's probably about it. You could put Dak in there sometimes. You could put maybe Herbert in there sometimes, or Lawrence. But in general, all of those dudes, they just want you to not lose the game. They don't
Yeah.
need you to go out and be those guys because you aren't that. And that's why Purdy has done an excellent job at being a high-level game manager.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and as far as the MVP talks, he's not my MVP. On my ballot, I would have Christian McCaffrey from that team.
Correct.
But
Correct.
if he were to win the MVP, it'd be in line with what's happened over the last 14 years in the NFL. That's a quarterback award now. Ever since Adrian Peterson won it, there have been multiple years where guys didn't deserve it. 14, Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have won it. It should have been JJ Watt.
JJ Watt. Yep.
2016, Matt Ryan won it because Julio Jones couldn't be guarded. But that's
Correct.
what the award is now. So they need to figure out a way, and this is the year for the impetus of it. If a Brock Purdy wins over a guy like Tyreek Hill, man, change it to quarterback MVP and non-quarterback MVP so someone can get some shine, because there are dudes who are working like Myles Garrett, Tyreek Hill, etc., that will never be immortalized like Brock frickin' Purdy will be.
I 100% understand it, man. It's crazy out there. One other thing that I wanted to cover with you before I let you go, man, and again, I appreciate you joining us today and taking the time. The game on Sunday between the Cowboys and the Eagles, I think it's going to be a quarterback game. I think that, look, a lot of teams don't come back from playing the 49ers. They get beat up physically, mentally, especially like the Eagles got beat up. Cowboys kind of went through the same thing. I think this is a game that Jalen Hurts is going to have to put his best foot forward in order for them to win, because the Cowboys have it going. Especially, look, Shaq Leonard is in Philly. I don't know if he's even going to play this week, just for the simple fact of what, he just got there. So I think this is a quarterback game, and I got Dallas winning. Tell me, do you believe the same thing, or am I off base?
Sure. So I'll start with Shaq Leonard. I think he's going to play in some sub packages, basically let him do things that he can do when they only have two linebackers on the field, that type of thing. But he's not going to be in the full defense yet. I think Philly needs to not make this a quarterback game. And what I mean by that is Philly got beat up last week. And I don't want to use the P word that's four letters that ends with a K, but they got that, right? They need to run the ball 40 plus times in this game.
Yeah.
That defensive line for the Cowboys wants to get after the quarterback. And if you have a less than 100% or less than even 95% Jalen Hurts, don't make him a target. Get back to being what you were, which last year you were bullies on the block. They need to run the ball, not make this a Jalen Hurts game unless they need him late. And I think if they do that effectively, they can beat the Cowboys. But if they try to pass the ball with the Cowboys, Dak is in his bag. Jalen can't do that right now because he is not functioning the way he usually does.
Correct.
And if they have to throw the ball 40 times, they're going to lose. If they run the ball 40 times, they win.
That's kind of my thinking too. I like the Cowboys in the game, but I think the Eagles can win if they can run the football. And let's be honest, the Cowboys have been susceptible to being run on. So if they run it, but it's just a matter if they do. It's just the Eagles, man. I don't know. They haven't done it the last couple of weeks. It's like they'll run it and they'll have some success and then they go away. So Jalen Hurts is a little compromised as well. So we'll see. If there's ever an opportunity for people to say, okay, Dak and the Cowboys can do it, it would be this game and this year, because the guy is, like you mentioned, he's in his bag. Dak is playing incredible football for this time of the year. It's the best. And again, I'll let you go after this. It's the best I've ever seen him play. This is literally the best that I have ever seen. This is better than his rookie year, because his rookie year, they ran the football like crazy and set everything up. They're not running the ball like that this year. It is on him, and he is doing it, man.
Yeah, it's even better than people forget. He started off on a torrid pace. I think it was 2020 season, and he broke his ankle.
Correct.
He was throwing for like 420 yards a game through those first 4 games or so. It's better than that because he's not just throwing the ball around the yard. He's making effective plays. When he broke that sack and got out and then completed a pass, and it was only for 8 yards, but it just looks like Dak's playing at a different level. This is the year for Dallas to do it. Dallas, I'm not going to say they never can, but this is the year to take advantage. They should win that division based on what's left. And if they don't, that is completely on them, especially the head coach, because I don't think Dak's going to be the reason they don't win.
Absolutely. I think the same way. Think the exact same way, my man. Well, thank you, CJ, for coming in today. As always, man, tell everybody where they can find you at, man.
Sure. So actually, you can start finding me again on a Chopping It Up with CJ podcast. Is available on Spotify, Apple Pod, or on most of the podcasting apps that you have on your phone. 4 shows a week, and I actually do a college football playoff show. I'm going to be recording later on today to discuss that whole controversy, what's going on. You can also, if you're in the New York City area, you can catch me on the CW affiliate, Pix 11, NY Blitz on Saturday nights. I do fantasy football there, try to help you win some leagues. And in general, I'm with Football Game Plan. So if you see anything with Football Game Plan on it, I'm usually involved in some of their endeavors as well.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Hope we can get you on even more than what you're on now with us. So I appreciate it, my man. Thank you.
Likewise.
And I will see you next week.
All right, Big B. Take care.
All right. All right, people. That was our our quarterback guru that we have on, CJ. He knows tons about football, man. He breaks it down every single week. So appreciate y'all coming in. My man, James Richards, we all got that feeling that Dan Quinn is taking over next year. If McCarthy, if they don't go to the NFC Championship game, you're right. You are right. They will let McCarthy go. I just got a feeling the Cowboys are going to make it. So they may lose to the 49ers in it, but they're going to make it. So as far as tonight, man, we're going to stream the game tonight, as always. So come back, come on in. We'll have some fun like we always do, man. It looks like it's potential for an extremely boring football game. Let's just be honest. The potential for a very boring football game. And if it is, then you know we're going to have a ton of trivia, a ton of stuff that we're talking about in there to try to make it fun. So anybody that's here on YouTube, if you're on TikTok, come on over, man. Come find us over on TikTok, because we'll be live streaming the game on TikTok tonight. So I appreciate it. And if you're in here on TikTok, if you don't want to watch that boring production that Amazon throws, come on in. We have a good time, man. We have a real good time. So we're going to shut this one down for today. So I appreciate you guys coming in. Anybody, again, remember, the Big B Daily Show comes on 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Come and check us out. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube, man. So love seeing you guys. I will be back tomorrow. Again, remember, we're live streaming on TikTok tonight. Appreciate you guys, man, and aloha.